Hello, and welcome to the first ever AK podcast. I'm Chris Radke, part of the sales department here at Agri-King, and joining me today is the Director of Field Services and a member of the sales management team, Mr. Mike Donaldson. Mike, how you doing, and what are we going to talk about today?
Doing very well, Chris. Thank you so much for hosting this. I thought this would be a good time just before Thanksgiving to get a little bit of a recap on what 2024 was like as a forage growing year and maybe a few quick peeks into what 2025 might hold. To do that, Chris and I asked to be joined by Jason Alsum, part of our sales management team, also Director of Silo King Business for Agri-King. Jason, could you flesh that out a little bit more, let people know what your job at Agri-King entails?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you both, Chris and Mike, for putting this together and for asking me to be a part of it. I'm honored to be a part of it. So my role on sales management team is I work with a lot of the people out west in managing part of the sales force of Agri-King on the western part of the U.S. We're expanding a little bit out there, so it's working with hiring people and getting the right people on the bus to help us grow out in the western part of the United States. And then one of my specific focuses as well then is Silo King specific. That's our forage treatment product, which we'll talk a little bit more about today. So I get involved in several different aspects of Silo King, taking it to market, working with the sales force, inspiring the sales force, working on new products. So that's kind of the scope of what I do. So in that role, I work with people, in some more specific parts of the U.S. And then I also have worked with people in our business model over in Limited, which is Ireland and the U.K. So, yeah, it's kind of fun.
Perfect. So in the areas that you spend a lot of time, what was 2024 like as far as forages are concerned? And maybe a little bit of how that compares to what you've seen other years in those locations.
It's difficult to encompass all of that. You talk to a lot of people, there was a drought over here, there was too much water over here. But if I were to summarize as a whole, it really came together pretty well. And I guess I would rank it as a very good year. There were some droughts, there were some slow starts, depending in some areas on when you put the seed in the ground. They had good results and bad results right next to each other. But what really brought it all together, and I think made it an above average year, was the harvest time. We got to fall, and they had 6 weeks of perfect harvest weather in most locations. So, yeah, some of them didn't have bumper crops of corn silage, but they were able to get it off without any mud, without any problem. So it's spotty, but overall, I would say it was a good year and above average for harvest time at the end of the year was.
Oh, good. Very good. I know there's some, how you want to say it, standards, sort of can't miss. You ought to always try to do this when you're making hay, this when you're making corn silage. What are some of those things that you think are not only important, but were really important this year?
Mike, I like to call it intentional preparation. Understanding that forage is one of the top priorities in your business, in farming, you got to be ready for that. So you have to be intentional and prepare in several areas. And the top 3 in my book are always seed selection. What are you going to put in the ground? You got to look at last year, what made sense, what is out there that could be better, and you need to bring your consulting people in and find a seed that works in your rotation, that works for your animals or your export or whatever you're doing with your crop, and be intentional about getting the right seed. So many guys I come across are like, well, I just plant all traditional because it's too hard to figure out how many acres for what. I think you can do better than that. Let's target some things and you can do better than that. Then it's equipment. There's so much equipment out there these days, and if you aren't maintaining it, advancing it, and having it ready to go, you're going to get caught not making the best forage because your equipment failed or wasn't ready, and that's off-season stuff you got to do. And then I really encourage people to look at your storage structures. Where are you going to put this stuff? So if you're planting so many acres of this crop and so many acres of that crop, where are you putting it? Again, where mistakes happen is when people move too fast, they don't think that far, and all of a sudden they have no place to go with this. So they make a kittywampus pile, or they add it on top over here. That affects quality and fermentation as well. So, you know what? Take the time to prepare in those areas, and you're going to be happy.
You mentioned about Silo King and the things that can bring to an operation. What are some of the high points that you see Silo King helping to maximize a forage producer's bottom line?
You know, I appreciate that question. There's a lot of forage treatment products out there. There's a lot of inoculants out there. What it comes down to for me is the best tools in my toolbox. And again, talking about being intentional and preparing, you know, the good old days of farming are gone. It's a business, and you got to use terms like continuous improvement, efficiency, return on investment. And that's where we live at Agri-King. We embody those things. We want our producers to be able to get better, to be more efficient in their feeding program on their farm, and we want to give them a good return on investment. So that's where Silo King thrives, because of the several different ingredients that we have together. We're the only livestock nutrition company that has developed their own forage treatment product and has all of their own proprietary bugs that go in there. So we designed it to better feed cows and to get a return on investment and make them more efficient. So that's really, in a nutshell, what makes Silo King special. You know, 53 years ago was one of our first products, and we just continue to develop it. The return on investment comes in several different ways. We are saving energy because we have a food-grade antioxidant in Silo King. So you get more energy out of it. That's one pathway. We put enzymes in to get more digestibility. That's another pathway you're getting a return on investment. And we're saving dry matter loss. And I refer a lot to Richard Muck from the University of Wisconsin. He's studied forage his whole career. And he'll tell you that average return on investment for an inoculant is 4-to-1. Well, in a lot of the studies that we've done with our added ingredients and the synergy they bring together, we're getting an 8-to-1 return on investment for farmers. So I think a better return on investment. Yeah.
No, you've, and we do actually have a lab, and I know you spend a lot of time there developing different pieces of the next Silo Kings. And I know you've had a busy couple years getting ready for some, I'm going to call them exciting new things as far as Silo King's concerned in the coming year, even when it comes down to our December booking, which we'll come back to in a minute. But when you look at 2025, what's one or two things that you're really excited about that you're going to be able to help people with regard to Silo King?
I guess we are starting to target our products a little bit more. And we were brought down that path by the Western hay market. Huge opportunity for us. And we targeted a product called Silo King Hay, which brought a product that was specifically designed for hay, dry, or fermented hay products. And then the next step we started talking about was targeting a product for corn silage. And I'm really excited because we have it available, and our sales force is going to be able to prepare for next harvest season by talking to their guys about a specific corn silage product. Another thing that has fueled a lot of this advancement is we're concentrating products more and more for efficiency, for shipping efficiency, for ease of use on the farm. They have less bags to handle. So both the Silo King Hay and the Silo King corn silage and grain, we're calling it, will be concentrated products. So they'll have less bags to use. It just goes right along with the efficiency we're looking for. And as far as the results, we've seen fermentation in days instead of weeks. So, you know, competitors will ferment in weeks. We've always been about half of that. We say 8 to 10 days, 6 to 10 days. Well, Silo King corn silage and grain is fermenting in 4 days. It's really doing a great job.
Great.
You know, and then On the equipment side, I would say we continue to advance with our ISO bus technology. All of your equipment and tractors are equipped with it. And if we can control our applicators through their ISO system so that we come up on their screen, it's much more flexible. We don't have to put controllers in the cab. It's less intrusive. So I'm excited about getting that on balers and more of the choppers, because right now we're on John Deere choppers. We're working on other choppers, and we've been told the door's open to work on a lot of the balers. So that'll be a nice advancement going into 2020.
Wow, that does sound good. Pulling back away to maybe forages in general, and I think that's one of the exciting things about farming is it's great. It's, we're sitting back almost Thanksgiving and looking back over a job well done, and it isn't too long before we start gearing up, like you said, getting ready for next year. A lot of seeds already been purchased, but there's just a lot of things. You never get very long before you have to start on next. So as you look into the next forage year, 2025, anything that you're thinking people really want to be tuned up about?
That's good, Mike. I grew up on a farm, and my wife didn't. And the lack of planning from her perspective to the farm people's perspective, my family, is irritating for her. And I think, the difference is farmers work sun up to sundown. And from planting through harvest, they're working 15, 16-hour days. And once harvest is done, they pack stuff away and they tune out for a little while. They take care of their animals. They go in different directions. And then all of a sudden the harvest season is there again. So, yeah, we tend to fly by the seat of our pants, and we're really good at handling situations when they come up. But we do need to plan, because, a failure to plan is a plan to fail. And so again, I might sound redundant, but there's a couple of areas, and I got seed selection down as another one. Take time with your agronomist and the harvest timing, and what you're going to put in the ground, and you're planning for digestibility. This is where it has to be. We're feeding rumens with a lot of our forage, not cows, or we're not making cornflakes. So we have to focus our seed selection on the rumens. So if we can focus on digestibility in the seed selection, that's huge. Planning what forage you're going to grow for the animals is number two. You've got to be the most digestible. And then if we can target our crops to the different animals you have in the farm, a lot of these more progressive, larger farms now, they've got 3 different stages of heifers. They've got their lactating, their dry, 3 different stages of lactating animals. They all have different nutrient needs. So if you're going to plant a less digestible forage, or a forage that is designed for maybe the heifers or the steers that are on the farm, don't forget about the cows, and don't just mix it all up in one bunker. We have to have the best quality feed for our high-producing dairy cows. So, seed selection and planning what forage you're going to grow for them in what stage, I think that if you're not doing that, you got to do that.
Perfect. I mentioned earlier, and Silo King is entering booking season. What kind of savings are available to someone who's going to take advantage of that program, specifically in December?
Yeah. So we've designed the booking season, we call it, to be a win-win. It helps us at Agri-King figure out what volume we're going to need to fulfill these orders next year. What do we have that's going to be coming in? It allows us to go out and pre-buy a lot of our ingredients and make some of our own plans. I've talked a lot about planning. It's something that really helps us do that planning. And then in turn, we give a nice discount to our clients, customers who are willing to commit to that and help us make that plan. So in December, there's about a 20% discount that we offer to our clients on a prepay program. So, you commit, let's get that paid for, taken care of. We can invest that money in some other savings, in some of our planning, and we give you a nice discount. Now, if If you want to wait a little longer, we also offer like a 10% discount coming around in March. But the biggest discount is right here at the end of the year. Let's round it out. Let's plan for next year. And it's a nice way to get those orders in.
Perfect. Jason, anything else about what you're seeing out there or what you're doing that you want to share with us?
Well, I will share. I'm very happy to see that, I've talked about planning and stuff, but for the most part, our clients, the farming industry is progressing in the right direction. They're doing much better. In my career, I've seen, strategies in storage go from 0 to 60. Back 15 years ago, even, there was a whole different set of standards for making a bunker. If you were at 14 or 15 on density, it was good. Now we expect 20 on a dry matter density. If you put a cover on it, you were good. Now you'd have to have 2 layers and full of tires. So we've come a long ways in understanding what it takes to make good forage. So kudos to our customers and clients and the different reps who are teaching them. We can continue to do continuous improvement and get better. But man, farming and those that are doing the work have done a great job at listening, learning, and moving forward. So we're moving into the time of year where we do shows, where we do seminars, where we do the learning. And we see a lot of our clients at those things. And let's come together, share ideas, and look at what we did well and what we can do better. So it's time for you to do that.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jason. Really appreciate you taking time for this. Chris, that pretty well wraps up the podcast. What'd you learn today, guy?
Hey, I learned something that a coach reminded me of a coach used to tell me, that proper preparations prevents poor performance. Thank you, Jason, for reminding us of down to the seed selection and how we need to be thinking ahead about what we choose and how we do that, and even down to where we're going to store everything. It makes complete sense. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Mike. If you're listening to us and enjoyed us, look us up on any of our socials. And if you have something you think we should talk about further, hit us up at podcast@agriking.com. All right, from everybody here at Agri-King, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.